Hello and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. Let's be honest, it's Mike Rowe who really saves the world. He has done just phenomenal work as a New York Times best-selling author, an Emmy Award-winning TV host. He also is the founder and CEO of mikeroweWORKS, and he has gotten more people into trade school than I had prom dates getting me into broom closets. And that's really saying something. Mike Rowe, welcome to Kennedy Saves the World.
That is a job.
Yes.
And thank you for all that.
Yes.
So much of it was true. And I'm so honored to be here. And I'm actually, my salivary glands have involuntarily activated.
Well, it is happy hour.
I know.
And happy hour, I make everyone a cocktail. This is made with your Tennessee whiskey.
Oh, my goodness.
Knobel, if I'm saying it correctly.
You are.
Okay. It is a fantastic spirit.
Thank you.
I've had it at Freedom Fest, and I was delighted because your team member that you work with gave me a recipe, which was a challenge, but I thought I was up to the task.
That's Mary Sullivan.
Yes.
And this is her, this was, well, like all good things, this was a collaboration. But it really just started with two really thirsty people and some nearby bourbon.
Yeah. So it is whiskey because it's Tennessee.
Correct.
And you had the recipe, you had the gumption, you had, I believe, the inspiration from your grandfather?
I had the name. My pop was called Carl Knobel with a K,
Yes.
Knobel. And he was the guy that Dirty Jobs was dedicated to.
Oh, stop it.
And then he was the guy that the mikeroweWORKS Foundation was dedicated to.
Okay.
And then he died, and then, as people do, and then we were locked down. It was all very sad. And the world was like, Mike Rowe, why aren't you doing Dirty Jobs anymore? Here at a time when essential work is headline news. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I should do it. So we rebooted the show. And coincidentally, Mary knew a friend in the whiskey business that had some 5-year-old bourbon in a barrel that the buyer didn't come through on.
Wow.
So I tasted it and I liked it and I bought it and I put my pop's name on it because that's the kind of guy I am. And now I'm sitting here with you sipping it.
Well, let's toast to your pop,
Carl Knobel.
to Carl Knobel.
Yummy. We call it a noble cause.
Yeah, this is lovely. So it's fresh lemon juice, ginger syrup, which I made with simple syrup, which was half cane sugar, half water. I dissolved the cane sugar, added the ginger, let it simmer for 20 minutes, and then it's Knobel Tennessee whiskey with a K
Yeah.
and honey syrup.
Yeah. Problem with this drink is, like, most bars don't have that ginger syrup.
Yes.
They don't have it. And if you ask a guy to make it, it's going to go very badly very quickly.
Yes.
Bartenders are busy people, and they
You
don't.
can't whip up ginger syrup.
Yeah, you can ask for a bespoke drink as long as the attendant ingredients are there
Yes.
and can be mixed, appropriately. But you can't ask a guy to come up with a whole new ingredient. They hate that.
How did you come up with this concoction?
Well, it was the name. I thought noble cause. A noble cause was everything my granddad epitomized. He only went to the 7th grade, my pop, but by the time he was 30, he was a licensed electrician, a steam fitter, pipe fitter, welder. Guy could build a house without a blueprint.
Yes.
You know, he just had that chip. And tragically, that chip, the handy gene, is recessive.
But you've been on This Old House.
Oh,
and I
sure.
know this because my legal domestic partner watches This Old House like religiously. And I was like, I'm interviewing Mike Rowe. And he was like, holy shit, do you know how many times he's been on This Old House? I'm like,
I've been on it a few times. Those got, like, I grew up watching that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been on forever. I think it was like 38 seasons when I finally went on it. And the reason I still gravitate toward it is because that kind of old, stodgy, and I say that as a compliment, deliberate TV production, it's so, like, old and careful. And, you know, like they only shoot on one camera. They walk into the shot, and then they smile, and they walk out of the shot, and then there's a cut. You know, there's just, it's like a bowl of warm milk watching that show. And, of course, you know, Norm and Bob and all the gang.
Tommy. Kevin.
Oh, God,
useful
they were the
as
best.
tits on a bull.
You know what they did? They wanted very much to try and reinvigorate the trades for the same. My foundation does the same thing, and
Generation Next.
yeah, that was their push.
Yes.
And they called after going to our website, which is mikeroweWORKS, which, by the way, we're giving away $3 million this week in work ethic scholarships. Your people
Amazing.
should go get some. Shameless plug. But no, they went there to pattern Generation Next, and the more they looked at it, the more they liked it. And then they did the most extraordinary thing. They just called and said, look, we'll go to our sponsors and we'll raise a bunch of money for this effort. And what if we just give it all to you?
Wow.
And what if you give it away through your scholarship program to help train the next generation of skilled workers? And I thought for maybe half a second and said, well, hell yeah.
Nice.
So they raised, I don't know, it was like $600,000 quick.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on. You know, this whiskey, my old show, this new show, this
People You Should Know.
People You Should Know.
Your new show.
Yeah, you know what? It is a new show, but really, is anything really new, Kennedy? I mean, like in the world of ideas and content.
Okay, but best practices, when I heard that phrase like 15 years ago, and because I thought it was stealing before that. It's like, no. It's like sampling in hip hop.
That's right. That's
So,
right. I mean, they're only
If you sample the Doobie Brothers, is it really stealing? No, it's inspiration. And then you use best practices and repurpose it and make something super cool for an entirely new audience.
Correct. And as you would know, in the music world, they would call that a variation on a theme, right?
Yes.
If a famous composition is sort of refreshed, that's kind of what you get. And, of course, Ed Sheeran went to court to fight all of that. And, there's endless copyrights and drama around music. But TV's no different. I mean, actually, storytelling's no different. There are only 7 stories you can tell in the whole world. And on TV, I think it's even less. And so this show, People You Should Know, was based on another show I did called Returning the Favor, where I would make people cry by showing up and surprising them. Nice people doing nice things in their neighborhood, right? And we'd go in and lie to them, tell them we were making a documentary and tell them they were part of the documentary, and they didn't know what was up. And then I would show up, and they would gasp and clutch their pearls, and then we would give them some elaborate gift, and then they would weep, right? So it was kind of like...
But everyone loves that. And they love going along for the ride, knowing the person doesn't know, and when they know, when they're in on it, it's
Yes.
like you watch it so you can cry, so you can have a cathartic release.
There is a cathartic release, but here's my problem.
Which is the name of the rub and tug that I used to go to on 8th Avenue.
Very nice. Yeah, see, I went to one without the catharsis. It was just release now with 4 explanation points. So there's not a lot of foreplay.
It was a different time.
It was a better time in a lot of ways. It was a faster time and a more affordable time.
I blame the tariffs.
So, coming soon. Yeah. Where was I? Oh, right. The trap of those feel-good shows, like Extreme Home Makeover, right? I mean, it was popular, for sure. It was on for a long time, but I couldn't watch it because it just hurt my teeth, that, like, the way when you're being manipulated when you're watching a formulaic show. What I wanted to do with Returning the Favor and with People You Should Know is, like you said, let the viewer come along for the ride. It is a feel-good show, but it's the making of a feel-good show.
Yes.
So you get to see all the mistakes, warts and all. I mean, I show up. I don't know.
But I think that's what people love about you, is you're not afraid, I mean, obviously, to get dirty.
No, I'm not afraid to do that.
You're not afraid, like, you're not so self-serious that everything has to be polished and everything has to be AI, because life is messy.
Well, TV, look, if you're going to do something called reality TV, and this goes back to 2002 when this thing started, I mean, I took it literally. I'm like, well, if it's real, why in the world would you have a casting? Why would you have an actor? Why would you have a script? Why would you even do any pre-production?
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where I said, well, why would you do a second take? I mean, if it's a second take, it's a performance, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So we did the first season of that show.
Especially on things like Deadliest Catch.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. We're going to put the pot back, get the crabs back in there. All right, everybody. That wave.
Where's the crab wrangler?
We don't like that wave. Give me a bigger one. That's too big. Right. You can't script the Bering Sea. And the truth is, you can't script real people, but you can make them do it over and over again until you suck the humanity out of them.
Yes.
And that's awful.
Yeah.
And that, in my view, is what happens to a lot of reality TV. So the one smart thing I did halfway through the first season of Dirty Jobs, which I'm still doing with People You Should Know, is just to insist that I called it a documentary cam, a behind-the-scenes cam, a truth cam is actually the better word. Just have somebody there to document the whole damn thing, warts and all, and make sure you use that footage in the edit. Judiciously, right? You don't want to lean into it too hard, because then that becomes as pretentious as not doing it.
Yes.
But you use it like salt, you sprinkle it throughout, and in the end, the viewer gets used to seeing you try, fail, succeed now and then, and they'll trust you. And once they trust you, then they'll do the best thing, which is to tell you where you should go and who you should profile next.
Yes.
So
was that helpful? And is that how you
oh my God.
found the various people to profile and people you should know?
Yes. Well, we kind of have to start it because you sort of hit the reset button and you have to show people what the show is and what you're looking at. But once they see it, then, I don't know, I get 9 million people on a Facebook page, and they tell me what they think about everything.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't publish a book without letting them choose the cover. I wouldn't do a show without, giving them 5 choices and you guys choose the title. Partly because they're always right, but also partly because if they're not right, I can blame them.
Yeah.
It's a great way to manage expectations.
Yes.
So, in my weird little world of nonfiction and reality and whatever falls in between, the viewers program the show, the viewers host the show. I show up less as a host and more of like a cipher or an avatar. And the behind-the-scenes camera tells the truth, and a real on-camera producer does her best to keep the thing on the rails, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't, but it's always a laugh, and people always cry, and you get your cathartic R-rated release.
That's what people want. I love it. Like that's why we watch Hallmark Christmas movies. Because, you want the fish out of water who goes back to her hometown and, and meets the longshoreman who got the scholarship
but not
from the
before,
MikeroweWORKS Foundation.
But not before they come together to make a snow angel
Yes.
outside of the senator's house, where, ironically, the marriage will take place next to an enormous Christmas tree that was cut down. Actually, it was chewed down by the young stepbrother who only had one skill, a mouthful of sharp teeth. So like a beaver, he went into the forest, chewed down the tree, and then the snow angel drags it in.
Yeah.
Right. See, it's such a great example. Those movies are so awful, they're terrific, and they're on 24/7. And I don't think people really watch them, Kennedy. I think they absorb them.
Yes, absolutely right. Like
Right?
as you're making gingerbread cookies and folding laundry, it's on, you can pop in, you're like, oh, this is the awkward fight.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So they have to have the forced tension, and then they're going to...
Yes. And the premature release
and the octuplets.
coming even sooner.
Oh, well. Actually, yeah, you can't keep them in for too long. Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
You know what this drink reminds me of? It's kind of like what we were just saying. Maybe you want to buzz. Maybe you like the feeling of a couple of shots of better than average bourbon. But maybe you want to take the time to muddle the ingredients yourself and create a delivery system that's a bit longer.
Yes.
And something you can savor a bit more. Not just rushing right toward the main event.
I went to Mom's Weekend at my daughter's college, and we had green tea shots. And that was the opposite of this.
Yeah.
It was really fun, but it was not a long, slow, dignified sip,
Right.
as you would have.
You're just slamming
with the
green
noble
tea.
cause.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no green tea in a green tea shot.
Well, that's ironic then, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
And is it actually a shot, or is it like
No,
just a tumbler?
it's a shot, but they add up over the night. It turns out. Yeah.
Yeah, the exponential effect of bad choices. I'm familiar.
Yeah, something mothers have to pass along to their daughters. I was very, very proud to do that.
So what was this event? A mother's
Mom's Weekend.
Mom's Weekend.
Yeah.
So all the moms
Yep.
are together.
Yeah, with the children's.
Oh, well, that's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not
But
a true
it's-
Mom's Weekend.
Well, it is.
It's a mother-daughter weekend.
But okay. So I've told this story on the podcast to Jimmy Fela. So my daughter's boyfriend, his fraternity brother, comes into the bar, white as a ghost, and he's like, "Oh my God, this woman who's a mom and had a wedding ring on came up to me and goes, 'Do you like Wendy's?' And I said yes, and she goes, 'Wendy's titties in your face.'" And I was like crying, laughing.
Good mom.
The mom did that.
Strong.
And tried to motorboat the guy and like semi-assaulted him, but it made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
Because like there's someone's mom out there like going for it on Mom's Weekend.
Well, that's amazing. But there's also some dude out there walking around with the story for the ages. And the rest of his life is just going to be a pale shadow. Everything's going to compare to that day that the crazy Wendy lady came up and just battered him.
Yeah, I went home and told her sister who was in high school, I'm like, some of these moms sent it, and I told her the Wendy's story, and she was like, "Oh my God!"
What's the setup again? What's the question? Have you been to Wendy's?
Yeah.
Seen Wendy's?
Do you like Wendy's?
Do you like Wendy's? Yeah, I like Wendy's.
Yeah, I like Wendy's. Wendy's titties in your face.
Good God.
Yeah, no, humanity is just fine, Mike. Don't you worry about a thing.
This is how we save the world.
But I told my daughter, like, if you want to make money right out of college, be a plumber. And she was like, that sounds disgusting.
I thought you were going to say be a stripper. Get those.
Like,
use
I'd
those
rather
assets.
be a stripper.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, there's a plumber butt crack joke in there somewhere. I'm not going to make it. I'm just going to put it out there.
It's implied.
That's part of the problem. That's part of the problem with the whole plumbing industry right now. I mean, to be moderately earnest for a moment, these stigmas and stereotypes, Kennedy, these myths and misperceptions that are keeping millions of kids from exploring these careers are rooted in the very kinds of trope to which you refer, i.e. the large plumber crack. I mean, your listeners right now, if I say plumber, it's impossible. You close your eyes, and he's a 300-pound dude, and his belly's tumbling out, and he's got the giant crack, and he's halfway under your cabinet or behind your refrigerator doing God knows what.
Lord only knows.
And you're just looking down and kind of washing your eyes out with bleach, and that's how plumbing is.
So my legal domestic partner asked me as we were watching this whole house, what trade do you think that you would like? And I said, I'd probably be a plumber. And he was like, no. He's like, that's the dirtiest of all. He's like, Richard is filthy on this old house. He's like, Richard never cleans up. He's always just covered in God knows what. He was like, welding. That's a good one. And I interviewed the super welder, the lady welder.
Chloe.
Yes, Chloe was
You
amazing.
talked to Chloe Hudson?
Yes, I did on this very podcast.
She's one of our rock stars.
She was a delight. And it was so nice talking to her because she was like, this is not easy. She's like, this is really, really competitive, difficult work. And it is so precise.
Yeah, I mean, her story starts with almost signing on the dotted line and borrowing $300,000 to be a plastic surgeon.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Very close to doing it. And she thought at the last minute, I just can't assume that kind of debt for something that's just not guaranteed. We gave her, I don't know, like $4,000 or $5,000 maybe. I don't even know if we gave her that much. Just our scholarship program is designed to motivate the applicant to have enough skin in the game to apply for other scholarships. Like we typically don't do full rides, but we gave her enough to get a welding certificate. And just a few years later, she was making $150,000.
I mean, it's unbelievable what she's entrusted with.
I know.
And the materials, she was describing the materials that she works with. And it is so difficult and truly so precise.
It's like chemistry and science
Yes.
and high stakes, and don't bitch it up because there are consequences, you know. And, I mean, last I talked to her.
Metallurgy.
Yes, anything that ends with ergy, you know.
Yes.
But she's what did she say to me? I don't want to be a welder. I don't want to be a welder. She's like, don't give me all the, best women welder or all that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, she's very feminine,
Yes.
I mean, she's
beautiful.
She looks like
She's like Jessica Rabbit.
Yes, she looks like Jessica Rabbit. She
Yes.
was just drawn that way.
That's right.
But she really thinks like a tradesperson. She has a work ethic. Jesus, I mean, don't even get me started on that. But she checked all the boxes, and then a lot of what I do today is just circle back to see how the people we assisted are doing. Because I can tell a story anecdotally, okay, maybe even pretty good, but not as well as people who actually walk the walk.
Yeah.
Like you ask a 26-year-old how they're doing after they got their welding certificate, and every now and then one will tell you, like, I'll tell you how I'm doing. I welded for a year, and then I learned a different kind of welding, and now I'm underwater welding, all right? And now I'm underwater welding in the Gulf of Oman, tax-free for $320,000 a year.
Wow.
Now I'm saving that, and now I'm hiring my friends and buying vans, and they're plumbers, and they're HVAC guys, and they're electricians. Now I got a mechanical contracting company. So, I think part of if you really want to save the world, Mike and Kennedy, what you got to do is you've got to get those stories out there more. I'm so glad you had her on your podcast.
Yeah, she was wonderful.
Every time people listen to her, people will come to my foundation and apply.
Yeah, and it's not just for the guys.
That's
because
right.
I know a lot of guys are put off by the college experience right now because they feel like it is against them. And so it's natural for them to go into the trades. My nephew did that.
Yeah.
You know, he went to Job Corps and now he's in the Navy. He's a mechanic in the Navy and he loves it. And he would not have succeeded the way he has in a traditional college route. But there are a lot of women like that as well. Like college doesn't necessarily serve them. And having a lot of debt and a degree that doesn't get you a high paying job doesn't make a lot of sense. And, you know, you've been screaming from the rooftops and with your platforms and with your new show, People You Should Know, and with the foundation, you really are making such a positive push and change because we have to repopulate these professions.
Well, I'll tell you how bad it is. Since you mentioned the Navy, I talked to a guy the other day who runs an organization called Blue Forge Alliance. Mm-hmm. You've never heard of them?
I have not.
No one has. Blue Forge Alliance oversees 15,000 individual companies who are collectively known as the Maritime Industrial Base. And together, they have to deliver 3 nuclear-powered submarines to the Navy every year.
Wow.
2 Virginia-class, 1 Columbia-class. These are massive, massive undertakings. And it takes a lot of skilled labor. And their words, desperate to find workers. They called me and said, look, can you help us? And I said, look, I'll try, but it's very skinny out there. How many do you need? The guy says 140,000.
Wow.
So think about the fact that a company you've never heard of is trying to hire 140,000 welders and electricians right now. Not to be just welders and electricians in the typical sense, but to build the pointy part of the spear. Our national defense is no longer rooted in aircraft carriers.
Yes.
Things go hypersonic, right, with China, Taiwan, whatever. Those aircraft carriers are vulnerable. We need submarines. These guys can't find the people to build them. They've got to deliver 3 a year for 10 years. And they literally said to me, we've looked everywhere, Mike. Do you know where they are? And I said, yeah, man, I know where they are. They're in the 8th grade.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And so a lot of what I'm doing today, partly with the show I'm working on now, but always with the foundation, is just trying to find people like Chloe and get them out into the world to tell their stories, because it moves the needle, and it's only a matter of national security.
That's one of the things that can kind of stick in the back of someone's mind who is curious and, you know, questioning their professional choices and what does this road hold for me? And they hear about someone like that and they're like, it's guaranteed money.
Well, how do you think of it as a parent, you know, with your kids? Like when you were helping guide them, offering advice, I mean, in your own mind, how did you think about the trades versus the entertainment industry versus any white-collar?
Of all of them, like I would encourage them last to get in the entertainment industry because I don't. It's very competitive. The money is concentrated to a very small percentage, and it can be very stressful for people. You know, if you have something you want to do, like be a psychologist, you need to go to college in order to be certified in that realm. I didn't go to college till I was 28, and I worked a lot until then. And then college was like a 4-year book club that I loved.
Yeah.
And I studied exactly what I wanted to study, and I paid for it with a scholarship. And I tell my girls, like, if this is not the time for you to go to college, don't. But I've talked to them about the trades. And, you know, right now, neither of them are in a place where that's particularly interesting to them. But at some point, it might be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember when, I guess it was 2015, and there was a presidential debate, and Marco Rubio had a line. I forget what the question was, but what he said was, what this country needs are more welders and fewer philosophers.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was like, as a person with a philosophy degree, I was like, screw you, Marco.
Well, I'll tell you, the crowd went wild.
Yeah.
And a couple hours later, I checked my socials, as one does, and I get hundreds, maybe 1,000 comments of people all saying, hey, this guy, Marco Rubio, he's singing your song. And I actually said, no, you know what? He's actually not. I never said the country needs more welders and fewer philosophers. I'm saying the country needs more philosophers who can talk intelligently about Nietzsche and Descartes and Locke and Hobbes and so forth, and more philosophers who can run an even bead, or at least be curious about it, you know? And this is the thing. I mean, I feel sorry for parents who really feel like their kids are like trapped in this binary world, because, I mean, my liberal arts degree served me well.
Yes.
It cost $12,500 in 1984.
Yeah.
Same thing today costs $100,000.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here with this phone and your internet connection. I've got access to all the every bit of information known.
Yes. I mean,
Right?
that's a thing, like, if you're a reader, you're going to be fine. You will get all the knowledge you need.
Yeah.
And like me, if you want it to be systematized, then you go to college.
Yeah.
And you'll have a series of classes that follow one after the other, and that will be very satisfying. That is not necessary in order to be conscious or have a fulfilling experience as an adult. 2/3 of the people in this country don't have college degrees.
Right.
But 3/3 of this country need people in trades to
3/3 is
build
right.
their homes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. We all look. If you share my addiction to not just the noble cause, but to smooth roads and affordable electricity and indoor plumbing and all those things, then you've got skin in this game. There's 7.6 million open jobs right now, most of which don't require a 4-year degree. There's 6.9 million able-bodied men, prime working age, who aren't working and who aren't even looking, and $1.7 trillion in student loans on the books. And I've said this to you before, but we're still doing it. We're lending money we don't have. The kids are never going to be able to pay it back, to train them for a bunch of jobs that really don't exist anymore, right? So the crazy thing is something has changed. I've been doing this for 16 years. And this morning I called my office to say, we're in the midst of an enrollment period right now. And I said, how many applications do we have in as of this morning? And the answer was 10 times more than we did a year ago today.
Wow.
That's bananas.
Yeah.
And that's because this Blue Forge Alliance stuff is happening. It's because the automotive industry has 70,000 openings. You can just go down the list. Oil and natural gas is hiring like crazy. Data centers and AI, they're 300,000 openings. It's bananas. And no one's really talking about it, at least not like that. People are still talking about unemployment. And how many are unemployed? Well, the truth is that's an artifact of the Great Depression. That's an economic statistic that really doesn't mean what it used to mean.
No, because when you have people who are simply not participating in the labor force, to your point, a lot of people don't know where the participation is that is very satisfying work. Micro works. Micro saves the world.
Well,
Thank you for being here.
One drink at a time. Oh, and people you should know, for God's sakes.
People you should know. Where can people find it?
Right on my YouTube channel.
Wonderful.
It's on. It premiered today. Oh. You'll laugh. You'll cry. Then you'll laugh again. Yeah. Then you'll cry a little more. Then you'll make yourself a noble cause.
Well, you have to rehydrate.
And hydration's important. And then you'll go to MikeroweWORKS and fill out a work ethic scholarship. And then you'll listen to my podcast. And then you'll go back and watch People You Should Know. And then after that, I don't really know.
Read books. Watch old clips from Home Shopping Network.
Get yourself a nice pop-up book and cuddle in for a long winter's nap.
Amen. With 2 or 3 of these. All
delicious.
Right. This has been Kennedy Saves the World, along with the great Micro. I'm Kennedy.
Great.
Great. Very great. Greatness abound.
B plus.
Listen ad-free with the Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.
Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.